Hello children, welcome to the class 9 biological science. Today we are going to start the biological class session. This will be the first class for the 9th standard. When we observe nature, when we observe animals and birds around us with our naked eye, we see many things, but there are many things which cannot be seen with our naked eye. For example, currently we are facing a pandemic, and this pandemic is caused by a virus. The virus is not seen with our naked eye, but it can be seen with the help of a microscope. Okay, so there are many creatures, many organisms which can be seen only through microscopes. A microscope can be a simple microscope, a compound microscope, or an electric microscope. These microscopes helps us see different kinds of organisms which cannot be seen with our naked eye. For example, using microscopes, we are able to see bacteria, viruses, fungi, algae, protozoa, amoeba, and different kinds of planktons. Okay, so a microscope can be a simple one, a compound microscope, or an electronic microscope. So using a compound microscope, we can see the cell membrane, we can see the mitochondria, we can see the nucleus, we can see the vacuoles in a cell. Whereas using an electronic microscope, we can see many other cell organelles. So now let us study the cell structure and functions. You all know that cell is a basic structural and functional unit of an organism. Just as we have bricks, just as each brick makes a house, each cell makes an organism. Okay, so cell is a basic structural and a functional unit of an organism. And in the previous classes, you have also learned that cells vary in their sizes and shapes. So different cells come in different sizes and different shapes. And cells can also be unicellular or multicellular. So a single organism on this earth, or when you observe nature, you notice that either it can be cellular, unicellular, which means it has only a single cell creature, or a multicellular, which means the organism is made up of many cells. So when we see that in nature, a cell size differs from 1 mm to 0.1 nm. Okay, so when you see the size, the frog egg has a size of 1 micrometer, whereas an atom on the extreme left side, you can see that its size is 0.1 nanometer. So cells have different sizes. Similarly, the shapes of the cells also differ. For example, when you notice the onion cell, you will notice that the cell walls are rectangular in shape. And when you notice the shape of the cheek cells, you will notice that the cell wall or the plasma membrane is irregular in shape. Therefore, cells differ in their shapes. Different cells have different shapes. Now, an organism can be a unicellular. What is a unicellular organism? Any organism which has only a single cell, okay, that is called as a unicellular organism. Examples, you have already learnt about paramecium, amoeba, bacteria and yeast. These are all unicellular organisms. Examples of multicellular organisms include a man, bird, trees, flowers, bees. All these are multicellular organisms, which means that this being or this organism is made up of many millions and trillions of cells. So, they are called as multicellular organisms. Now, let us study the structure of a typical plant cell and an animal cell. For this, you can refer to the diagram that is given in your textbook. Now, when you notice a typical cell structure and a typical animal structure, what do you see? First of all, we see that there is a cell membrane which is common in both the plant cell and in the animal cell. Okay. A cell membrane is an outer lining of a cell. But when you observe the plant cell, apart from the cell membrane, there is an extra layer, the dark green layer, which is surrounding the cell membrane, that is called as the cell wall. The cell wall is absent in the animal structure. Okay, what else do we observe? We observe that the plant cells have a nucleus, and even the animal cell has a nucleus. But the plant cell has a large vacuole in the middle, which is absent in the animal cell. So, similarly, I want you to observe the plant cell structure and the animal cell structure, and you have to tell me what is common between the two cells. Next, what are the cell organelles that are found only in the plant cell? Next, you have to write down the differences in the plant cell and the animal cell. For this, you have to go through the picture that is given in your textbook. This is the exercise for today. Now, there are different parts of plants and animal cells. Let us study each one now. Now, when you observe the cell wall, see, if this is a cell, okay, you see this yellow color border, this is called as the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. In plants, it is called as the plasma membrane. In this animal cell, it is called as the cell membrane. Okay. So, the yellow outer lining, which is called as the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, is what we are going to study now first. Okay. When you observe, the cell membrane is the outer covering of a cell. So, you see the yellow lining, this is the outer covering of a cell. Okay. It is made up of lipids and proteins. So, when you observe the structure of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, you see that it is made up of lipids, which means fats, and proteins. Okay. And then it is also flexible. It allows only certain substances to go through it, which means when you observe this plasma membrane, it only allows certain sugars, amino acids, proteins to go through it. Not everything can pass through this cell membrane. Okay. Only few specific substances pass through the cell membrane into the cell. So, this property of allowing only few substances to enter into the cell by the cell membrane is called as selective permeability. Okay. So, what are the functions of the cell membrane? When you notice, the cell membrane, it protects the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the blue color representation that you see in the cell. So, it protects the cytoplasm from the outside environment. Okay. The cell membrane, the outer layer, it protects the cell from the inside environment. Next,